In the early 20th century, Europe was a powder keg waiting to explode. A complex web of alliances, imperial ambitions, and rising nationalism created a perfect storm. The major powers of Europe were engaged in a tense arms race, each seeking to outdo the other in military might. This period, which later became known as the prelude to World War I, saw the destabilization of European societies. The intricate alliance system meant that any conflict involving two countries could quickly involve others. On one side were the Triple Alliance of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. On the other side was the Triple Entente, consisting of France, Russia, and Great Britain. Imperial ambitions further strained relations as nations competed for colonies and resources. Nationalist movements were also on the rise, particularly in the Balkans, where Slavic groups sought independence from Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian rule. The volatile mix of these factors made Europe a breeding ground for conflict. Any small spark could ignite a massive war. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914 provided that spark. This act would plunge the world into a conflict of unprecedented scale and devastation, forever changing the course of history. On June 28, 1914, the Archduke of Austria, Franz Ferdinand, was assassinated in Sarajevo. His assassin, Gavrilo Princip, was a Bosnian Serb nationalist who sought to end Austro-Hungarian rule over Bosnia and Herzegovina. This event set off a chain reaction that would lead to the outbreak of World War I. Austria-Hungary, with Germany's backing, issued an ultimatum to Serbia where the assassin was believed to have ties. When Serbia's response failed to meet all the demands, Austria-Hungary declared war on July 28, 1914. This declaration of war triggered existing alliances, drawing multiple countries into the conflict. Russia mobilized its forces to support Serbia, leading Germany to declare war on Russia on August 1st. Germany then declared war on Russia's ally France on August 3rd. When German troops invaded Belgium to reach France, Britain declared war on Germany on August 4th due to a treaty protecting Belgian neutrality. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand thus rapidly escalated from a regional conflict into a full-scale war. The world watched in horror as nations quickly aligned themselves for a battle that would ravage Europe and beyond. As the war began, two major alliances formed: the Central Powers and the Allied Powers. The Central Powers included Germany, Austria, Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria. These nations sought to defend their interests and expand their influence through military might. Opposing them were the Allied Powers, consisting initially of France, Russia, and Great Britain. Over time, more countries joined the Allies, including Italy in 1915, Romania in 1916, and the United States in 1917. This broad coalition aimed to counter the Central Powers and restore balance in Europe. The formation of these alliances transformed the conflict into a global war. Battles were fought not just in Europe, but in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Each alliance leveraged its colonies and resources, making the war a truly worldwide struggle. The global nature of the conflict meant that no part of the world was untouched. From the deserts of the Middle East to the jungles of Africa, the war's reach extended far beyond the European continent. The alliances ensured that the war would be long and devastating. The Western Front and the horrors of trench warfare. The Western Front, a major theatre of war, stretched from the North Sea to the Swiss border. Here, trench warfare became a defining feature. Soldiers on both sides dug extensive networks of trenches, creating a grueling and stagnant battleground. Life in the trenches was brutal, with soldiers facing constant shellfire, mud, and disease. The First Battle of Ypres in 1914 marked the beginning of trench warfare. Both sides attempted to outflank each other, but neither could achieve a decisive victory. This led to a deadlock that would last for years. Trenches, barbed wire, and machine guns turned the battlefield into a deadly quagmire. Conditions in the trenches were horrific. Soldiers lived in cramped, unsanitary conditions with rats and lice as constant companions. The threat of gas attacks added to the soldiers' misery, as did the psychological toll of continuous bombardment. Trench foot, a painful condition caused by prolonged exposure to damp and unsanitary conditions, was common. Despite the harsh conditions, soldiers displayed remarkable resilience. They developed a unique camaraderie and a dark humor to cope with the horrors of trench life. The Western Front became a symbol of the futility and suffering of the Great War. Technological innovations of warfare. World War I saw unprecedented technological advancements that reshaped the battlefield. The use of tanks, machine guns, airplanes, and chemical weapons increased the war's intensity and scale of destruction. These innovations marked a major turning point in military history. Tanks, introduced by the British in 1916, were designed to break through enemy lines and traverse difficult terrain. Though initially slow and unreliable, tanks would eventually become a key component of modern warfare. Machine guns, capable of firing hundreds of rounds per minute, made traditional infantry charges almost suicidal. Airplanes, initially used for reconnaissance, soon became instruments of aerial combat and bombing. The war saw the emergence of fighter aces, pilots celebrated for their aerial victories. Chemical weapons such as chlorine and mustard gas inflicted horrific injuries and deaths, adding a new dimension of terror to the battlefield. These technological advancements not only changed the nature of combat, but also increased the war's human cost. The unprecedented scale of carnage and destruction left an indelible mark on those who experienced it. The global reach and the United States' involvement. World War I was not confined to Europe. Colonial troops from Africa, Asia, and other regions were drawn into the conflict, fighting for their colonial rulers. Naval warfare, particularly Germany's use of U-boats, threatened shipping routes and turned the oceans into contested battlegrounds, highlighting the war's global reach. Colonial troops played a significant role in the war. Soldiers from India, Africa, and the Caribbean fought in various theaters, often under harsh conditions. Their contributions were critical to the war efforts of the Allied powers, yet their sacrifices were often overlooked in the war's aftermath. Naval warfare was another crucial aspect of the global conflict. Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare targeted Allied and neutral shipping, aiming to cut off supplies to Britain. This strategy led to significant losses and contributed to the United States' decision to enter the war in 1917. American involvement provided fresh troops and resources, significantly impacting the war's final phases. The United States' entry into the war marked a turning point, tipping the balance toward the Allies and establishing the US as a global power. The war's end and its lasting legacy. The war ended on November 11, 1918, with an armistice. The Treaty of Versailles, signed on June 28, 1919, formally concluded the conflict. The treaty imposed heavy reparations on Germany and reshaped Europe's political map, though it sowed seeds for future tensions and conflicts. The Treaty of Versailles held Germany responsible for the war and demanded reparations, leading to economic hardship and political instability in Germany. The redrawn borders created new nation-states such as Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia, but also left unresolved ethnic and territorial disputes. World War I had a profound impact on the world, causing around 8.5 million military deaths and potentially up to 13 million civilian deaths. It led to the fall of 4 imperial dynasties, Germany, Russia, Austria-Hungary, and Turkey, and contributed to the rise of Soviet communism and the conditions that led to the rise of Hitler. The war's legacy continues to influence global politics, economics, and social attitudes. The lessons of diplomacy, unity, and the cost of conflict remain relevant today, reminding us of the sacrifices made and the need for lasting peace.